Hey, this is Cave Cat once again, here again with another great episode of Cave Cat's movie and TV reviews. Well, happy 4th of July, everybody! For episode 60, in celebration of today being the 250th birthday of the good old US of A, I'm going to be reviewing Liberty's Kids. Liberty's Kids was an animated series that was produced by Deke Entertainment and aired on PBS Kids from September 2002 to April 2003. Yep, you heard it here, folks. Not only is this the 7th time that I'm reviewing a Deke animated series, but this is also the 5th time that I'm reviewing a PBS Kids series. But anyway, let's get this review started, shall we? Liberty's Kids takes place during the American Revolution, back during the time of the 13 colonies in the 1700s. The series focuses on 3 kids: Sarah, an abandoned British girl; James, an orphaned American boy; and Henri, an orphaned French boy, who all live and work in the workshop of Benjamin Franklin himself, along with an African American slave named Moses. In fact, since the series is a PBS Kids series, it's inevitable that it would actually have some educational content. In this case, teaching kids about the American Revolution and about life back in the 1700s, as well as the different historical figures that lived during those times. I remember watching the show back when it first premiered on PBS Kids, back when I first started high school, and I actually found myself enjoying the show because I felt that it was a great way to teach kids about how America came to be back in those days. Throughout the series, we learn about such events as the Boston Tea Party, the Intolerable Acts, Patrick Henry's famous Liberty or Death speech, Paul Revere's Midnight Ride, the battles of Lexington and Concord, the capture of Fort Ticonderoga, the Battle of Bunker Hill, Thomas Paine's pamphlet Common Sense, and especially the Declaration of Independence, among others. We also get appearances from other famous historical figures like John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, Paul Revere, Benedict Arnold, Patrick Henry, Deborah Sampson, King George III, and many, many others. Of course, the one historical figure that the series focuses on most prominently would be Benjamin Franklin, voiced by the late Walter Cronkite. In fact, speaking of voices, like Adventures from the Book of Virtues and especially Adventures in Odyssey, this series actually features quite a number of celebrity guest stars voicing the different historical figures. Several that really stand out for me include Mike Wazowski himself, Billy Crystal, as John Adams, Sylvester Stallone as Paul Revere, Dustin Hoffman as Benedict Arnold, and many others. If I tried to list them all, this review would end up being a lot longer than necessary. But aside from seeing the historical figures that appear in the series, the main child characters are also fun and entertaining as well, with James being the more street smart as well as working as a journalist for Ben Franklin's newspaper, Sarah being the more feisty and prone to being assertive about her rights, and Henri being the more troublesome and accident-prone due to his small size. Of course, throughout each episode, we also get little interludes known as the LNN, which is short for the Liberty News Network, which have Ben Franklin delivering a newscast about the events of the episode. These other interludes also include Mystery Guest, where the viewers have to guess a historical figure, which is often one that appears in the episode, Now and Then, which compares life back in the 1700s and life in the modern age, and Continental Cartoons, which is a rebus word guessing game. I found these segments to be really fun and a great way to show kids what life was like back in those days. And as for the show itself, like I said before, I really enjoyed it when I first watched it years ago, and I still enjoy it to this day because it really holds up. This is a show that I really think needs to be brought back to television again, because kids these days really need a good educational show that teaches them about life back in the 1700s, the American Revolution, and especially about the people who made a difference back in those days. After all, like I said in my Adventures from the Book of Virtues review back in the day, kids shows these days tend to meander about a bit too much when it comes to trying to teach kids various lessons. I mean, yes, this show did air in reruns on one of the Star's Encore channels years ago as part of a kids' afternoon block, but other than that, that was it. I really do like the concept of an animated kids show taking place during the American Revolution in the 1700s, in a bid to teach kids about the different events that happened back in those days, as well as the people back then that helped make those events possible. Not to mention that the show actually does a good job of explaining to the viewers about the American Revolution without making it come across as being too preachy or pretentious, or even beating you over the head while doing so. Because another problem that I seem to have with modern educational kids shows is the fact that a lot of them just seem to come across as being a bit too kiddie when it comes to trying to convey the lesson that they're trying to teach. At least Adventures from the Book of Virtues was able to convey its lessons in a gentle and entertaining, and also humorous way, though the third season of the series ended up being exactly what those modern-day educational kids shows embodied, just nothing but safe and watered-down kids' entertainment. At the very least, Liberty's Kids was able to reenact the various historical events in a way that kids actually understand without dumbing them down. In fact, we even see several episodes where some characters actually end up dying, whether they're on screen or off screen. Again, that was real gutsy of the show to do that. This show really stands out from a lot of the other PBS Kids shows airing at the time, because while some shows like Arthur, Clifford the Big Red Dog, Sagwa the Chinese Siamese Cat, Anne of Green Gables, and especially Adventures from the Book of Virtues focus on teaching kids moral lessons, while others like Sesame Street, Zoom, Between the Lines, and especially Cyberchase focus on teaching various learning skills, Liberty's Kids actually focuses on teaching kids about life during 18th century America and about the American Revolution. I really love everything about the show. I love the characters, I love the setting, and I love how the show portrays each of the different historical events that happened as they did. And another thing I love about the show is the theme song, which was sung by the late Aaron Carter, because it really fits with the mood of the show, reminding us that even people back in the 18th century had problems with trying to assert themselves as well as trying to fight for their freedom and their rights. Kind of fits for today's world, doesn't it? But again, I really do enjoy Liberty's Kids for its likable characters, its bright and colorful animation, and the way that it teaches kids about the American Revolution without being too preachy about it. After all that I said about the series so far, I think it's safe to say that I will give Liberty's Kids 7 stars. Ta-da! For being an animated series produced by DiC, I will say this about Liberty's Kids. At least it's good to know that DiC themselves actually decided to do something different in making an educational kid show, especially after the likes of Inspector Gadget, The Littles, Heathcliff, The Real Ghostbusters, Popples, Alf the Animated Series, Camp Candy, and Sonic the Hedgehog, among others. And this is not the first time that a series produced by a well-known animation company had aired on PBS, being that The Magic School Bus, another series that also aired on PBS, was produced by Nelvana, as I mentioned before in that review. Moving on, I feel that Liberty's Kids really did a great job with what it was given in regards to being an educational show based off of the American Revolution. And again, I really like everything about the show since it was another animated show that I watched a lot after school. No matter how old or young you are, if a show has left a good impression on you, you'd want to see it again. And if you watch Liberty's Kids in your youth, then that's what you should do. As I said before, kids these days really should watch Liberty's Kids and learn more about what the people back in the 1700s had to go through in order to try and gain their freedom, and especially about the events that led up to the Declaration of Independence. It's just too bad that most kids shows these days just don't have the guts to try and cover these types of things, preferring to talk down to kids way too much like they're nothing but morons. We really need shows like Liberty's Kids to teach concrete lessons to kids in a way that can actually cater to their attention and keep them engaged all throughout. Maybe kids shows in the future will actually find a way to be more entertaining and intellectually stimulating to kids instead of dumbing down the lessons too much. I mean, who knows? Well, anyway, that's it for this episode of Cave Cats movie and TV reviews. Like before, don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the notification bell for more episodes or more videos from me. So until next time, see you in the future, and once again, happy 4th of July!